So today I really want to speak about sexual energy and the distortions that have been created around this and how this is playing out and how we can rectify it. Because something that I've witnessed, that I've been observing for quite a while, is that sexuality has been very misunderstood on the planet, and is particularly in this time that we're living in. And there's a multitude of reasons for this, and again, I'm not judging anybody, because I've also played into these thoughts and these beliefs, and I've just seen both sides. So I think it's important, and it's something that we need to rectify, because without it we will never have relationships that are built on love and that are true and authentic, because sexuality has a way of distorting relationships, and it has a way of distorting our sense of self. And the reason I say this is because what I've really seen is that in general, I'm generalizing now, in general, men use sex as a way to boost their ego. They use it as a way to gain credibility with their friends. And women use sex as a way to feel love and approval and feel closeness and intimacy. And you see how when we approach sex in this way, we're actually only just taking from one another, and we are coming to this very sacred act with very base desires, and sexuality is very lust based in the world, and very animalistic, and there's no true purpose in what's happening besides just that short ego boost or sense of love and approval. And the problem with this is that it becomes very destructive. It becomes destructive because we are using one another, we're actually abusing one another, we are taking from one another, and we are tainting the beauty and the sacredness of our bodies and our life force. And we are also, in the act of sex, we are taking on one another's stuff, because you're merging energy fields with another person, and this can really be destructive to our sense of self, to our consciousness. It can cause a lot of mental distortion, and it can do a lot of damage, because when you're sexual with somebody, the emotional ties that can also happen, it can be quite dangerous if it's not a healthy connection. And I personally feel that the reason why this is happening is because society has painted a certain picture for us about what sexuality is. And this usually comes through music. I find music is the strongest place where this is constantly being shown to us through. And then it comes through also movies, and it comes through the porn industry, and these things are seriously very, very toxic and destructive to our world and to our society, because women are also feeling like they need to perform like porn stars, and men are also learning to abuse women through sexuality. And it's really sad, because ultimately, this is the most sacred and special and beautiful energy that we have available to us. And we have been taught to give it away and to open ourselves up and to not be conscious with it. And there's a reason for that. Because when we're acting out of that base desire, out of lust, when we're acting out of desperation, when we're open sexually just because we feel like we don't have any self-worth, and so that gives us self-worth, it keeps us trapped in our base chakra, in our reptilian brain, and we then are stuck in a sense of fight or flight mode, and we're constantly on edge, and our energy is depleted, and our energy, that energy is powerful whether we're using it for good or for bad. So the impact that then has on everything around us as well is incredibly potent. So if you want to look at it like this, every time you're having sex, you are performing a ritual. Let's go so far as to say it's a magic ritual, okay? And if you are coming into that sacred act with very base desires, with no sense of intention, then what happens is the ritual that you are performing, without you even realizing it, is very dark and distorted, and it invokes more of that lustful energy around you, because the merging of two energy fields, creating that big bang, that orgasm, if that's coming from a place of lust, then that potent energy around you is going to attract more of that. Whereas on the opposite spectrum, when you're approaching lovemaking with love, with a true sense of love, connection, honesty, integrity, authenticity, and you're approaching it with sacredness, and you're doing it as a form of truly celebrating one another, and instead of taking from one another to feel better about yourself, it's a form of honoring one another. It's a form of truly giving to another person. You're giving your openness and yourself and your vulnerability. Then what happens is the energy that's created in that, from a space of love, the energy field that's created from that, then the ritual is powerfully beautiful and sacred and divine, and attracts more of that. So you see how different the energy is between those two rituals, or those two acts. When you're coming from a place of lust, it becomes destructive because we're trying to take from one another. We are using one another. Whereas when it comes from a place of love, we are trying to honor one another, and we're revering in one another's sacredness, and we're connecting with pure love and purpose and intention. And that then has the power to deepen your connections. It has the power to deepen your love, deepen your respect for one another. Whereas when it's lust-based, often it destroys the relationship. It takes you further away from love. And I really see how this is playing out on the planet, and how these different industries, like the porn industry and music industry, are almost feeding us this idea that this is what sexuality is, and what sex should look like. And because of the amount of people that those industries are influencing, that is the general idea that we have about it on this planet. So what we need to do is actually start counteracting that, and it happens by every single person, whether you're in a sexual relationship or not. Educating yourself, number one, on what healthy sexuality looks like. Making the decision to seek out healthy sexuality, or to use your sexuality in a healthy way, and being devoted to your body, to the sacredness of your energy, and learning how to treat yourself with respect. Because you can't expect somebody else to treat you with respect if you don't know how to treat yourself with respect. And it's a hard journey to get there, you know. It takes many years of pulling yourself out of those lower vibrational sexual states, and making the choice over and over and over again to use your energy in a more sacred, intentional, purposeful way. And when we do that, we actually become a lot more careful and intentional about who we have sex with. And often people will choose celibacy a lot more, because celibacy, we're not celibate because we're trying to deprive ourselves, or because somebody else told us to do it. You know, you choose celibacy because you are precious about your energy, and you won't just share it with anybody, and the person who you share it with has to almost meet you on your level before you are willing to open up to them. Because if we really understood what happens when you have sex, and the way your energy fields really do merge, you don't want to just share that with anybody. You want to be very careful about who gets access to that, because you love and you respect yourself. And it's not to say that you don't love and respect yourself if you're still acting out of lust. Like, trust me, you can love and respect yourself a lot, but if you're not educated on what you're really doing, then you have no idea, right? So my purpose with sharing this with you is just to educate you. It's just to show you a new perspective and give you a new understanding. And when we see that new perspective and that new understanding, there's something in us that will resonate with it. And then that starts the journey of you wanting and seeking within yourself how to use your sexual energy in a more healthy way. But it won't look the same for everybody. Everybody's different. So everybody's journey will be different, and it will take you as long as you need. But it's just about connecting to that new vision, which then will help you to try and do things in new ways and explore and experiment. And my view of this is also my own journey with it and my own understanding, because I've been in a sexual relationship where I was very much in that base energy, and I felt what it did to me. I felt how it depleted me. I felt how I was doing it because that's what made me think I was loved. I felt how it left me feeling empty. I think ultimately what's happened in society is that we have forgotten how to love one another, because sex has been associated with love. And we think that if we are having sex, then we are loved and we are giving love, or we're just doing it for pleasure. And what we want to get back to in the world is really relationships that are based on love instead of sex. Because I promise you that you can be in a relationship and you can experience the deepest and most profound love that you'll ever come across and not even have sex. It's possible. But the thing is, society has taught us that it's not possible. And that as soon as you start feeling feelings for somebody, then sex is the way to deepen your relationship. But it's not. Our relationships deepen when we get to know each other more. Our relationships deepen as we become more vulnerable with one another. Our relationships deepen as we become more intimate with one another. And what intimacy really means is showing somebody your true self and feeling safe enough to show somebody your true self and feeling their love and their support as you reveal yourself more and more to them. And sex should be the last point in your relationship, in my opinion, because there's so many things that must be developed before we really can meet with another person in the utmost sacredness and reverence and love. And it's really all about building up that love before, so that when you do enter into that sacred act, it becomes an act of honor and reverence and love and beauty, and where we do it with the intention to give to one another and to almost celebrate and worship one another and see each other's divinity. So it's a very different way to approach it. I think that everybody, as I say, will get there in their own way. But it's just about having a different perspective and feeling where this perspective feels true for you and allowing that to lead you in the direction that you need to go. And not shaming ourselves when we do still act out of those base lustful desires, because it is so present in the world. But about being the ones to choose within ourselves what we want to do with this energy. Do we want to use it constructively or destructively? Do we want to use it to improve our relationships through honor and reverence? Or do we want to use it as a way to take from one another? So the choice is really up to us.